Welcome back to the internet. If you're not familiar, this dashboard pulls data out of HighLevel, also from like Facebook and Google, to show you key performance indicators for your sub accounts. And previously, what we could do is we could compare, by default, it would basically just compare all of your metrics to the previous period. Okay, so the last period, in this case, our ad spend went up, so in my mind, that's a good thing, but our cost per conversion went up, so that's a bad thing, and it tells you what it was in the last period, depending on what time period you have selected in the chart. But now we have KPI targets. So if I toggle this on, then I only have KPI targets set for quality grade, touch rate, for these metrics basically, but we can see my target for AI quality grade is a 4, in other words, a B. So for this company, we're at the KPI, so within 10% is blue. Above 10%, or on the good side, if it's an indicator you want to go up, is going to be green, and if it's worse than 10%, then it's going to be red. So we can see touch rate, if it goes down, it's red, whereas speed to lead, if it goes up, it's red. But I think I've beaten that horse to death, quite literally, and so, basically, we can see KPI. So previously, if you wanted to kind of keep track of your clients and figure out like who needs the most help, it was kind of hard to do that. You had to look at the numbers, but now there's a very clear visual indicator, and we could even sort by something like speed to lead, and that'll tell us very clearly that like who's good and who's bad. So we can see all the ones at the top are bad, and these ones don't have a KPI because they are not set up in a configuration. I'll show you. We've also changed the configuration tab. So now down here, KPI targets, we can set our targets, and so in this case, we're just hitting these metrics, and we have a nice little preview here and the actual value that we want to target. And so then that shows over here. And we could target a specific cost per lead. So in this case, cost per lead's a little bit of a weird one, just because in some cases, you don't necessarily care if your cost per lead is $100 if those leads close every single time, right? So it's a little bit redundant to have a target cost per lead, but let's say this target CPL is going to be 15, right? So that seems like a safe number, and then if we're under that, then it should be a good thing. So if I refresh this, then we'll see right here we're down, we're below our target CPL, which, at the current, way I have the ad set up, I can just kind of look at this and go, okay, good, the ads aren't fatigued yet, right? That's basically what we're looking at. But yeah, so that's basically how this is going. And one more change that we have is this table. So I didn't make a video about this, but this table is now updated. So now obviously we have this sorting ability, which was very, very annoying when we couldn't sort. This applies to the analytics, so the contacts page as well. So we can actually sort contacts by whatever we need to as well. And we can also toggle on and off columns. Great artists steal, as you may know, and so I just stole this interface straight from Notion because I like it, okay? And so basically all we have to do is click on one of these to toggle it on and off, and we can rearrange these in in whatever order we want. And same thing goes for every single table on here. So we also have search, and that just makes it so much easier to, filter down and figure out like where we want to look, because we might want to look for like, all right, which company, let's only show the ones with an automation group at the top, or let's go like valid leads and, see who has the most valid leads, whatever. So also working on adding some more statistics to this table, because now most of these columns are hidden by default. So we can add a bunch of different columns willy-nilly without hurting most people's experience if they don't care about having that column. Like there can be random niche, metrics that nobody gives a shit about except one person, and we can still add it. So yeah, that's basically the changes that have happened. And so some very exciting stuff coming soon, but this is kind of, a little bit in preparation for that and just making it a little bit easier to go through your metrics. One thing I will say is that right now, the way this app is set up is that it's an analytics tool, right? And one of the hard things about having an analytics tool is that your job is to expose problems, right? So a customer comes to you and says, I have a problem, but I don't know what that problem is. So I need analytics to figure out what that problem is, right? If your business is kind of, it's growing fine, it's working fine, you say, I know there's some bottleneck. I don't know what that bottleneck is. So that's my problem. And then the analytics tool comes in and hopefully is able to resolve that by showing you what the bottleneck is. But in a lot of cases, you know, with this app, especially since it's focused on sales, people tend to know their problem already. All right. This kind of just backs it up. But in a lot of cases, your problem is, hey, you know, our like lead quality is actually pretty shit. Our clients are saying the leads suck, and I agree. Or, you know, our clients say the leads suck, but they're not calling the leads. And I can tell because I looked at their CRM. And you might not have time to look at their CRM every single time and affirm that fact. But in general, you can kind of tell, hey, like, you know, this CRM is just like not, or they're just not calling their leads. And so when you look at the dashboard, you go, oh yeah, for sure, our touch rate is literally like 40%. So obviously there is some sort of gap there that I already knew about. And so what I'm realizing is, yeah, like basically the problem is already exposed. It's already kind of obvious. This just exposes it. But what I want to do is shift more towards the solution oriented. It's like, okay, we know we have a problem. All right. This app is going to affirm that you have a problem and make it easier to kind of explain that to other people. But the real goal should be, how do we solve that problem? And so that's what we're moving towards. Yeah, kind of a pivot in the business, but not a huge one. Basically, just make it more useful, right? So anyways, that's the video, and thanks for watching.